Hello students, this is Rashmi ma'am here, and today I am going to teach you the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda, which is the third poem of CBSE 12th English code 301. Pablo Neruda talks in this poem about necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Introspection, yes. He talks about self-introspection, how important it is in our lives. So let us start the poem. Now we will count up to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of earth, let's not speak any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. So the poet here requests all of us, all means all the creatures of this earth, all the human beings, all the living beings, to be quiet and to count up to 12. Why does he want us to count till 12? Because the hand of a clock moves 12 times. So that is why he wants us to count up to 12 and to be quiet. Now those moments can be considered as a single moment because 12 means 12 times it is moving. So if we count up to 12, that can come to 12 seconds. But those 12 seconds, the poem is counting as a moment when we all will be quiet. So now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of earth, let's not speak any language. So the poet requests that in those moments, let's not speak any language. No sign language. Not only the language of human beings, the language of animals. All language should not be spoken. All and any kind of language should not be spoken, and we should all be very, very still and quiet. And why does he want this moment? Because he wants us to introspect ourselves, that what harm have we brought to nature, to universe, to our relationships? Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. So the poet is saying that continuously, day and night, we are rushing. We are rushing without any reason. Sometimes we are out of our mind and we do not know what exactly are we rushing for. So the poet wants that all of us should be quiet, and in that moment of quietness, in that moment of stillness, we should introspect ourselves. We should try and see within ourselves what harm are we bringing to ourselves and to our relationships. It would be an exotic moment. Exotic, magical, beautiful. So what would be an exotic moment? That moment when everything and all things of this earth would be quiet, would be still, and without rush, without engine. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So there will be no rush, no engines. So the poet is saying that he does not want any kind of rush, any kind of noise of machines or of anything. He does not want any kind of disturbance. So that moment would be? That moment would be exotic moment. And the same exotic moment would be sudden strangeness. So when the poet here says, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now suddenly, when everything would come to stand still, wouldn't it be strange? Yes, it would be strange. But that moment only, we will get some time to introspect ourselves, to see ourselves, to look within ourselves What harm exactly are we bringing to ourselves, to nature, to the entire universe, and to our relationships? The poet further says, fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. So that moment when everybody would be quiet in the cold sea, the fishermen would not harm the fish, would not kill the whales. Such big whales they are killing for their own purpose, for oil, for medicine, for making money. And the same time in the sea only, so the imagery is of the sea only. Two things have been taken from sea. One, killing of the whale, and the other is making salt, because he says the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. So the literal meaning here is the man who is gathering salt day and night, is making so much of salt just to gain money, is not able to look at his own hands, which is getting hurt, which is getting tattered, which is getting torn, which is filled with sores. S-O-R-E-S, sore means wound, W-O-U-N-D, wound. It is filled with wound, but he is not able to look at his own wound. The implied meaning is that these days all of us are running after materialistic things day and night, running after materialistic things, and we are not able to realize that in gaining so much of money, somewhere we are neglecting our family, we are neglecting our relationships, we are not sitting with them, we are not talking to our own children, to our own family, and somewhere we are harming everything. Our relationships have gone kaput. So we have to give time to our relationships. We have to give time to small little beauties of life. We have to see and nurture our relationships. We have to know who all are our neighbors. We don't even know our neighbors properly these days because we are so busy from morning to late night. We are busy making money, and somewhere we are separated from our own children, our own family. So we have to give time to them and our relationships, and in the long run to earth, to universe. Let us read further. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors. The poet here says people day and night are trying to gain something, and in planning to gain something, they are day and night, they are scheming, they are crafting, their crafty ways are always at their best. So let us see what they do. Those who prepare green wars, war against nature, cutting tree, drilling holes in ocean to get more and more crude oil, more and more money. Wars with gas, chemical wars, wars with fire, different kinds of wars to gain more and more land, where both the countries, those who are at war, they are not gaining anything. Both of them are getting economically very poor. There is an economic depletion, but they are fighting each other only to establish their supremacy, which is of actually no use because happiness is missing. And why the poet asks us for quiet introspection? Because he wants that each and every person on this universe should be happy. Not only person, each and every being. So we should live in coexistence with each other, and we should make this universe a happy place for all of us. Victory with no survivors would put on clean clothes. So he says that in this war, what happens actually? No survivors are left. And here, students, I am reminded of Ashoka the Great. However, it is a slightly out of context because I have brought the Indian scenario here, but it is very, very necessary. That is why I am bringing Ashoka when he had won Kalinga, and that night when he had gone to battlefield, he saw that he has won nothing, but he has won only burnt city. He was seeing only dead bodies. So actually he had won nothing. There were no victory. For him it wasn't a victory. So he became a Buddha. He embraced Buddhism. He became a disciple of Buddha. And he went to different countries to spread Buddhism. However, let us come back to this point where Pablo Neruda is asking us to introspect ourselves why we have become so materialistic and why we are ignoring our relationships. So this is what is happening. So he's saying we plan all kinds of wars, but in the end we gain nothing. We only lose our happiness. So what do? We just put on clean clothes and walk about their brothers. We just keep on, we wear clean clothes of mourning. Mourning, mourning. Mourning is expression of sadness, especially during death. So he says expression of sadness is being brought after this kind of victory. And we have nothing to do but just to sit in the shade doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. The poet here says what he wants should not be confused with total inactivity. He doesn't want that we should be like idle, sitting somewhere without any work. And then total inactivity is also the final doom, that it should not be confused with death. So he says that we should be active. It is not that he wants that everybody should be quiet and doing nothing. No, he says that we should be quiet, but we should be introspecting ourselves. I want no truck with death. No truck with death. Death means no confusion with death. He doesn't want that there should be violence on this earth. People should be having arms with them. People should be resorting to wrong means. More so, he wants to say, when he wants people to be quiet, it should not be confused with death. Quietness and stillness should not be misinterpreted as death. He wants people to be quiet from outside, but from inside he wants them to introspect themselves, to understand what harm have they brought to themselves, to the universe, to the nature, and to their relationships. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Here the poet says, we are also single-minded. Single-minded, selfish. We are all very selfish. We all think about our goodness only. We only thinking about our goodness. Every time we are thinking about our benefit, how we are going to rise, how we are going to surge ahead. We are not thinking about the benefit of each other. Mutual benefit, we are not thinking about mutual benefit. And the poet wants mutual understanding, mutual feeling of happiness. He wants to advocate this. But he says every time we are so self-centered, we are thinking about ourselves. So how to get out of this? How to get out of this single-mindedness? So he says perhaps then this huge silence. Now huge silence is what? Sudden strangeness only. Exotic moment only. Sudden strangeness, SS, alliteration. Sudden strangeness, exotic moment, magical moment, and this huge silence is the same. Huge silence when each and everything on this earth, living, non-living, everything, everyone would come to stand still, would be quiet. And that would be a huge silence, and then perhaps we could be introspecting ourselves and trying to understand where exactly are we going. And every time, if we are not so single-minded, every time we would not be threatening ourselves with death. We will not be living in a constant state of fear. We would do something good for humanity, for this universe. So now let us come to the last 5 lines. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So the poet says, perhaps the earth can teach us. Earth, which you see from space, seems to be lifeless, seems to be a ball with some patches on it. How does globe seem to you? Only few patches on it and nothing else. So the earth, which seems so lifeless from outside, has this so life inside it, throbbing life inside it, and it has got so much activity happening inside it. The life is happening inside it and it is throbbing with activity. So perhaps earth can teach us. The poet is saying perhaps the earth can teach us, because it seems so lifeless from outside, but it is throbbing with activities from inside. So similarly, the poet Pablo Neruda wants us to be quiet from outside in a position of meditation. He wants us to be in the position of meditation. We should be meditating and seemingly quiet from outside, but inside our mind should be active. Inside we should be introspecting that what harm exactly have we brought to ourselves, to our relationships, to universe and to nature. Then he says, I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So he says, I am going. Now it is time. I have counted up to 12. You also count up to 12. And make this moment magical, make this moment exotic. This sudden strangeness, this huge silence should help you. So you meditate, you introspect yourself and come to this, you can say, evolution of yourself, that what harm have you brought to nature, to yourself, to your relationship, and try to mend it before it is too late. So this is what the poem is, the poet was trying to tell us, and I think in today's context also it is quite essential and necessary. So those who want to know more about figure of speeches and other thing about in this poem, please mail me at rashmi.singh0211 @gmail.com. Thank you. Have a good day ahead.